The primary thing I want to do is talk about chapter organization. This is something I presented in Washington. I have to take a little different tack, but there's a couple of things. What I need to know is, where is the Eagle Scout in the room? Is there an Eagle Scout in the room?
Yeah.
Do you know anybody in your chapters who's an Eagle Scout?
Yeah.
Of course you do. What's the Boy Scout motto?
Be prepared.
Be prepared. Exactly. First thing, and really I'm talking to chapter presidents when I discuss this, and I wish more of them were here. The first thing a chapter president should know is to be prepared. Be prepared. He should understand how to make his chapter work, how to run his meetings, and how to make use of the people he has. So what's the structure, the standing structure, the one that's prescribed by the bylaws for a chapter? It has what? It has the officers. It has the Board of Governors. The Board of Governors really is kind of the planning committee for the chapter. So the first thing is, the president should make use of that committee to plan his meetings. Second thing the president needs to recognize, this is probably rule number one, and the hardest to follow on, the most difficult, especially for Greeks, and believe me, I've seen it happen. The president needs to understand that his responsibility is not to do anything, but to see that it gets done. I can tell you for sure, a president who does everything will not be successful. A president who sees that everything gets done will be. And that is tied into that one important word, which I am absolutely certain has a Greek root, delegation. What happens in a meeting typically where the president does everything? It's call to order, go through the minutes, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and whatever. What are the members doing? They're sitting here like you, waiting. They have no part in it, because the president has taken everything on his shoulders, and they are not participating. Now, this is one of the things that alienates people from going to meetings. And I will say, as an aside, one important principle to keep in mind is the purpose of AHEPA is not to hold meetings. We know that. But we still need the meetings to conduct business, because we collect money, we have a fiduciary responsibility, and the membership has a right to have a say in how that money is spent. So, what is really the core of the meeting and ultimately the core of the organization? It's simple. It's the committees. What do we do if we have functioning committees? The president stands up, call to order, blah, 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 minutes, treasurer's report, committee reports. Mr. Chairman, are you ready? Mr. Chairman, are you ready? Mr. Chairman, are you ready? And in reality, if he's using his Board of Governors properly, he knows that in advance. So you don't spend a lot of time with the guys hemming and hawing. Well, Mr. President, we didn't have a meeting this month, but blah, blah, blah. And that is another rule for the president. Once you delegate, you must follow up. It is not enough to say, Joe, you do this, Nick, you do that. Then somewhere down the road, you'll have to come back and say, Joe, did you do this? What can you tell me about it? Nick, what's going on? What's your report? That's important, an important thing to do. Now, when you do that, you achieve a particularly important goal. You make members participants in what's going on. Whether you have a few or a lot show up for your meetings, you're pulling on those guys who will be active. And those who won't be active probably won't show up, and it may be just as well. All right. So the structure of the meeting then is reports. The first report always is the minutes. Second report always is a treasurer's report. Why do we do that? Because we need to remind ourselves of what we decided before. And we need to know what our financial status is. Then you can go down through the list of things that the committees report and recommend and vote on it and say, yeah, we can afford to do this, no, we can't afford to do that. We get the information first, then we decide. Okay. Here's another little thing that will drive me nuts. You go to a meeting and you look at the agenda and new business. Let's talk about this, let's talk about that, let's talk about something else. Old business, let's talk about this thing that we talked about before and let's talk about it some more. Properly, the business of a meeting is decisions. When you look at rules of order, whether it's Roberts or Demeter's or anybody else, typically it will say there is no discussion without a motion on the floor.
Correct.
Okay? I think you all know that. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir. But that business then requires that somebody have thought about what they want to do and what they're recommending, and then you discuss it. And of course, the rules of order also go on further to ensure that everyone gets a chance to speak up on the matter, and there's all sorts of things, but that's not what I'm concerned about. So, again, the committees are the core of the chapter. A good president will make sure that those committees exist and are active by appointing and following up, and then you can decide. The committee recommends this, the committee recommends we start a project to fund the bell tower for the church, or take your pick, anything, doesn't matter. But at least the information is there, you know what your financial status is, and you can do it.